Today we are letting the colours do all the work. This is a loose and quite abstract in terms of the colours sketch. We'll use a continuous line, some grey ink to keep it nice and soft. And then we're just going to wash over 4 colours just to show you that you don't need to carry around a huge palette. This is an example of somewhere I was on holiday, the kind of sketching I do on holiday as well. And using just 4 colours, just one pen, we can create something really fun. And with that, let's see what we're going to use and we can start sketching straight away. So all we're going to be using is my normal paper. This is Watercolor block by Handmuller. I've got a different pen today, as I said. I've got my rollerball pen, which is actually refillable. A really great find that I've been playing with recently. Inside that I have Lexington Grey ink by Noodlers. And of course I've got my colours, and the only colours I'm using today: cobalt blue, cobalt green, quinacridone sienna, and a little bit of lavender as well. And that, along with a couple of brushes, is all I'm using to create a really light, loose, and hopefully you agree, quite fun sketch. And I want this scene to kind of not totally fill the page, but be quite big, but leave us a lot of space for lovely, loose colours to come and flow around. I'm going to start on the right hand side and just get that first house in. We're going to do this as ever as a kind of essentially a continuous line. There might be breaks in that line, but mostly it's going to be a continuous line. And you can see that ink, although it's grey, it's rather a lovely sort of dark grey. It does stand up well. It almost feels black. In fact, it does feel quite black until you compare it to another different ink, until you can compare it to a truly black ink. All I'm doing is finding the kind of key parts of this house. There's lots of space in this house. There's lots of space between the windows, lots of white empty space. We'll see how we can play with that when we come to adding the colours. But to start with, I'm just trying to sort of link everything up, keep that line going, get the approximate feel of the perspective so we can have this big path coming towards us, for example, but also just focus more on the flow of the scene and how things move, make edits where we need. Now we're going to move to the cottage that we rented for a few days. Lovely little cottage in Colbeck, and it's a lot bigger on the inside, I would have said, and looked here, but really lovely area to stay. Lots of character to it, I'm sure that you can see. Really got that sort of old cottagey feel, very classic for the county that it's in. And going up here, we just get that roof and get the same feel to the roof, those little lines. What we've got here is quite a funny situation where actually the windows and the doors are below the level of the road. So we'll just try and make sure we get that feel, so we're not sort of falsely trying to make it make sense. It almost doesn't make sense to the eye because it's wrong. It's not what we expect. We expect the road to be the same level as the bottom of the door, not above it. But there you go. And just to get that little suggestion of the door in, and I'm actually going to add in this car as well. The car, just very simple, loose shapes, nothing fancy. And as I said at the beginning, sort of journey into abstract wonderfulness. In the road, we'll just continue, just get a little bit of texture in there. Then we can go to the back and we can find little sort of barn-like building. There's also a kind of fence going along here. Got a lovely tree that we can make something of. Just spring that out there, and then we've got these trees and the hills in the background. And like that, I think our continuous line is pretty much done. I'm going to pop my signature on already, little initials and my actual signature hidden in the line work. And now we can glaze over this. And I use the word glaze on purpose because what we're doing, aiming for a soft feel to our colours, really light and gentle flow to our colours. And I'm going to start therefore, got lots of red on my brush somehow. No harm, as long as we're using plenty of water, we should be able to just lift that up. I don't know if that was on my brush or if it was at the bottom of my water, but nonetheless, that shows the key to using lots of water. It makes things flexible. It means you can lift those sort of accidents up if you make them like I did just then. So I want loads of water, really fluid. And then I'm going to get a little bit of my cobalt blue and just start playing with that. there are lovely little clouds in our scene, so I'm trying to sort of play around and get that feel of those billowing clouds. I could even angle my page, so now hopefully what I'll get is these kind of colours flowing upwards, and again getting that lovely sort of feel of a cloudy, loose, lovely sky. Going to then drop my page flat again. This is where I'd like to play with a little bit of lavender, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of this lavender colour at the top of my palette, and I'll use a slightly smaller brush and then pick some of that up and start dropping that in as well. Not quite enough water there. Let's try again, and there we go. And this lavender is a sort of semi-opaque colour. It just has that slightly cooling effect, I think, on the sky. It really just brings it down. It's a very soft and gentle kind of feel. Really started to enjoy playing with this colour. It might make it into my proper palette very soon. We'll see. I'm sure we'll be updated on that in a soon video. And I'm going to use it actually to just gently suggest some of these shadows, but I don't want to overdo the suggestion of shadows, because again I just want this to be nice, bold, loose and abstract in the feel. Coming in, bit of cobalt to splash, bit of cobalt splashing in there as well. Then I'm going to move back to my slightly bigger brush, and we can see in the background we've got these golden kind of colours. I'm actually going to make it a little bit more green to start with. Again, actually this is a bit of cobalt, this is cobalt green now, and that's just going to come in there. It's very kind of punchy green. Again, I can see there's too much paint, so I just gone back, added a little bit more colour in there, and hopefully we can get this green just moving, getting it in that sort of classic cobalt semi-granulation that you can get by having enough water to play with. Now, what else can we do? So let's just keep moving around. Going to get a bit more of my lavender and just suggest a few more of the shadows in a couple of places. Again, this is a bit too dry, so we can always come back in and scrub in a little bit, get a bit more looseness in there. And I want some warmth. We haven't got anything warm yet, so I'm going to get my quinacridone sienna and just start touching that in, and that will blend, it will merge, finding where is there elements of warmth in our scene, and just let that do its thing there. Pop it down, it will flow around, it will move around, it will make up its own mind where it's important for it to kind of create some lovely shapes. We've got more actually, lovely bits of warmth in the foreground. We've got these kind of leaves in the greenery, so let's do that. This set of walls, that can get a bit more of a punch to it as well. Anything else? Yes, we've got some lovely bits of warmth on the sides up there, and why not just touch it in a couple more places. Going to have to balance that out. And this kind of painting is all about balancing what's happened. That's a bit rich, isn't it, compared to some of the blues. So now let's just use a bit of cobalt blue again on this slightly smaller brush and just enhance the kind of amount of tone, amount of paint in these blue areas. And then if things are still feeling a bit too certain, come in, just scrub things around, let things soften and move, and hopefully in no time we'll just be getting a nice soft glazed first layer to our watercolours in this kind of abstract loose painting. Like that, I'm going to just let it dry. We'll see what happens, and then we will come back and we will add another few bits of watercolour on top. So here we are, mostly dry, not entirely but mostly. And this is the point where we think, what little touches might we want to add just to brighten it, pull things apart a little bit? And I actually think not too much is needed. This has got a lovely soft glaze. So all I'm going to do is use some of these little touches just to enhance a very small number of areas. So just getting my lavender, and really I'm just putting it where I want to. I'm almost drawing with it in a couple of places. I don't want to use any new colours, I don't think either, so I'm just going to use these same four colours. We've got the cobalt blue, the lavender, the quinacridone sienna, the cobalt green, and let's see if we can just make do with them and actually tell the whole story of this day, which is a kind of overcast with a crisp blue sky, lots of clouds with a crisp blue sky, and get that feel of this old village. And that's what it's about for me, just getting the feel, not the exactness, just the feel. So I'm finding, where can I put some of this warmth? We've got these lovely autumnal leaves, so it can come in there. Can do it more loosely with splashes, or we can touch in like that. And then just to mellow things out, if I mix that, you see this is a mix of connecting sienna and cobalt, we get this very neutral colour. That's because orange and blue are, well, they're complementary, they're opposite each other on our colour wheel, and thus you end up with this kind of neutral shadowish tinge. And with that, just do a few little touches. I can just kind of find some shapes where I've got little bits of sketched out shape, maybe get a bit more orange in the background. And last but not least, I think for this layer is a bit more green, just swirled around and touched in a couple of places just to enrich it a little bit. Splashes again to make me happy. And I think that's enough of the painting, it's enough of the bold colours. Now what we can do, come back. And I did say at the beginning I was going to use 2 pens, but actually I think I'm going to stick with this 1 pen. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. This grey ink, which I've only actually before used in my sketchbooks, but on this bigger sheet with these glazed colours, I actually think this grey ink is holding up plenty. So instead of coming back with a different pen, I think we can keep a more nice consistency within our painting just by using this same pen, this same light tonal ink to kind of come in and grab a couple of edges. I don't think there's much we need to do. Again, there's loads we could do, but in terms of what do we actually need to do, I don't think there's too much. We can add a bit more complexity to the lines in places if we want, maybe suggest some details in the doors, even in the windows. Again, I want to keep this continuous line just flowing around, so I don't want to break up the line by doing too many exact bits of sketching. And I think I'm actually going to leave it there. So this is much quicker than I intended, but I'm getting a really nice warm feeling of this bright white area pushing through behind these lovely loose abstract colours. So rather than overdoing it, rather than stressing, rather than working too hard today on my sketching, I'm going to leave it there and feel really happy with what I've achieved. Let me know, did you enjoy that? Is there something you'd have done differently? What's your favourite little colours at the moment? Love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. So thank you everyone for watching my little sketching videos. If you enjoy my content, please do subscribe to my channel because it makes me really, really happy. Thanks again.